This person, this guy, he's 22. He says, "Is it true I have to like myself before I can date a girl?" I'd say no, but it'll probably help you. I mean, just like probably affect more than anything like your belief on what you deserve. If you don't like yourself, you probably feel like you don't deserve a relationship because you'd be basically just bringing somebody else down because you feel bad about yourself. But if you are happy with yourself or whatever you're saying, like yourself, then you might have a more positive belief on what you deserve. And so in that regard, I would say it helps you a lot. And plus, you're probably just more fun to be around if you like yourself and have a good time. Let's get into the post. I've been struggling with severe depression for the majority of my life. So what does that happen? When does that happen? Well, sometimes when we're living in the past, we get depressed, and also sometimes when we feel like life should be a certain way and it doesn't match how it is, and then we feel like we can't do anything to change it, or it's this massive thing to change it. We make the solution this huge thing, and so we feel almost helpless, and so we start to feel depressed or start to suffer. So our options are to change that model of what life should be, or we change our reality by just tough work, or making progress. He says, and my therapist told me today that before I can be good enough for a date, what a results based before you're good enough to go on a date. I just don't agree with that philosophy because it's attached to a result instead of attached to the process. And so it's like whenever you get it's a fixed mindset. Read Carol Dweck's book Mindset. She talks about that. Whenever you get like linked to an outcome, it just creates a bunch of anxiety. So I think this therapist's approach is a poor one because it's really a fixed mindset instead of a growth mindset. So before I can be good enough for a date, I have to like myself. It's like, yeah, that situation's just going to put so much anxiety and pressure on you. And it's like, you don't really need that pressure. So, yeah. I told her that I can just fake liking myself when I meet girls. What you'll actually find, surprisingly, though, is if you can actually fake it, like fake smiling, you somehow just start feeling good. That's why in like sales things, like maybe you make sales calls, it's like you want to get yourself in a good state. So maybe you just smile, and it's like your physiology really drastically shapes the emotions you're feeling in that moment. And so when you like smile before a sales call, sometimes that puts you in a better state. And then you basically just come up with better things to say on the call, or you're more relatable. And so actually, you're kind of like joking about it, but surprisingly, it does help to just change your movement and how you're moving, whether that's like looking up. Looking up can help instead of like crouched down and like hunched over. Smiling can help. How you're carrying yourself can help. The rapidity of how fast you're moving can help. One thing I do constantly if I'm ever in like a little rut or just I'm not in the zone yet, to make videos is like I start to breathe in my heart. So I'd start to just like focus on my breath. Breath's another one. Take deep breaths, and then I focus on that oxygen just going right to my heart, and it's just like just puts me in that place where it just changes my state for the moment. So like state management actually is pretty important, even though he was kind of joking about it. But she said they can see through that. So I don't know if the thing is like this therapist probably doesn't have a clue about relationships, and they're trying to give you advice on this and thinking that this advice translates over to relationships. And it's just like, ah, so I see so many of these therapist things and they give people advice and it's just poor advice. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan so far as what I've seen from therapists and stuff. I'm just not a big fan of what they've been teaching. I'm not saying that's the truth or whatever. That's for all therapists. I'm sure there's lots of just excellent therapists. But I think like anything, it's like people get their degree and then it's like they just go practice this thing and don't actually work on themselves and aren't like totally passionate, almost like just to an obsessive level about finding that truth. And some people just don't have, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's like a lot of people just shy away from the truth because it's difficult. It's hard to go into that place, especially when it's the truth about us. And so even like qualified people and quote unquote like intellectual people or intelligent people, sometimes they just don't go into the truth and they just kind of beat around the bush or just continue to do what they know. And so be careful on therapists and thinking what they say to you is absolute truth, because just from my experience, it's not. So I don't know if I really do need to like myself. I would say it's advised to do that, you know. But I would say this approach she's trying to make you take, which is you have to do this or else you won't ever have a relationship. That just puts so much pressure, and just when you're ever in that pressured anxiety state, it's like that's going to translate. She's going to feel that as well. And so it's like you're results based, you're attached to the outcome. Nah. It just puts you in a place of fear rather than abundance and just enjoying the moment. Before I can date, because it's incredibly hard and practically impossible to like myself. Well, because you're telling yourself that, and your internal language is, oh, it's impossible. What is that? What is that? I talked about that in the very beginning. It's like if you feel like you're hopeless or it's impossible to get the solution, or you way overthink the solution, so it's like this massive deal, so you never even take action towards it. Whenever you feel that, you start to feel depressed. So it's like, there you go, that's what you're feeling, and that's really all you have to change, is that your options are change your model of what it should be or how you should be. Maybe you think you should be a way, or you should be perfect, or some impossible standard, and maybe that's why you're saying it's impossible, because you actually do have a standard for yourself that is impossible to meet. Perfection is not a high standard. Perfection is one of the lowest, if not the lowest standard, because it's impossible to meet and just puts you in a terrible place. Yeah, so your options are to change your model on how things should be, whether it's you, whether it's getting into a relationship, or you can put in the work to match how you think it should be. And when we do match that or exceed it even, that's when we really start to feel like we have that sense of certainty in our lives, and compared to what he's in right now, which is a state of complete uncertainty. And whenever we're in uncertainty, sometimes that experience of uncertainty sometimes is almost like the pain thing. It's almost closely related to experiencing pain. And I'm not saying it's one's, well, I'm saying you do want to get out of it, but it's like translating over to relationships. It actually is important for like that desire factor to have some sense of certainty. You can't just get into relationships with total certainty. But I go more in detail if you want to get more in depth on how that uncertainty and certainty relates to relationships. Actually, I think I cover a lot of it in the free product. You can get Relationship Fundamentals in the description below, and then also you got the more specific paid ones that you can get. So if you're in a situation like this and you need some help, check those products out or check out my videos. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.